Chapter 4006. Due to unknown reasons, this site is suddenly unavailable on Sogu today. Fellow readers, please remember this site's domain name, Book Ocean Pavilion, and find your way home. Are you serious? You don't even recognize corpse puppets? I say, which remote corner did a human like you crawl out from? Night Spirit looked at her as though she was looking at an idiot. If they were ghosts, they wouldn't be so slow. We wouldn't even have time to speak and would have been torn into pieces. As she complained, she raised her hands and her sharp black nails shot out. Her dark green eyes shone with a bloodthirsty and battle-thirsty glint. Although they knew that they would die, the demon race revered bravery and bravery. Whoever retreated was a bastard. Night Spirit let out a strange cry and charged towards the two corpse puppets at the front. Her black nails streaked through the air and a pungent stench shot out along with rotten flesh. Night Spirit grabbed the head of one of the corpse puppets and yanked it down. Roar! However, her shoulder was bitten viciously the next moment. Bastard! It hurts. Night Spirit threw away the head in her hand and clawed at the corpse puppets behind her. She retreated rapidly. However, there was too little demonic chi in her body and it was almost dried up. Her claw only forced the corpse puppets back 2 steps before they were surrounded again. Night Spirit knew very well. The scariest thing about these corpse puppets was not that they had no sense of pain or fear. It was that they could not be truly killed. Night Spirit had just said that she had dealt with 10 corpse puppets, but she knew very well. Those disgusting things would be reborn in another corner of the Demon Cloud Ridge very soon. As for the group of corpse puppets in front of her, if only 10 or 20 of them were killed, the corpse puppets would soon come back to life. Night Spirit's eyes were filled with despair as she looked at the approaching disgusting monsters. It's over. It seemed like she was going to die in the Demon Cloud Ridge today. Damn it, she couldn't even eat a mouthful of fresh meat before she died. How indignant. When the bloody mouth approached, Night Spirit, whose body was completely drained of demonic chi, did not dodge. She gritted her teeth and stood on the spot, straightening her back. Just as those teeth were about to bite her head, she saw a dazzling sword beam. There seemed to be a soft sound beside his ear. Thereafter, the heads of the corpse puppets that were surrounding Night Spirit and trying to devour her rolled off their necks one after another. It even spun a few times around Night Spirit's feet. Night Spirit slowly turned its head stiffly. What entered his sight was a young girl dressed in blood-red clothes, holding a sword as she slowly walked forward. The sword in her hand was so strange. It was sparkling and translucent, almost invisible if one didn't look carefully. Was it this strange sword that chopped off the corpse puppet's head and saved her life? Night Spirit opened his mouth and only found his voice after a long while. You won't be able to kill these corpse puppets just by chopping off their heads. You must burn them with fiendish chi. Indeed, it was as Night Spirit had said. The headless corpse puppets did not collapse, but continued to sway forward. There seemed to be an invisible energy connected to the severed neck that emitted a nauseating stench. As his body moved forward, his head flew up from the ground and returned to his neck. The corpse puppet's movements became even faster. Night Spirit said anxiously, forget it. Don't bother about me. Hurry and leave. I can see that you're rather agile and should be able to escape alone. Chapter 4007. The girl's eyes were fixed on the corpse puppet. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly, her eyes flashing with contemplation. Night Spirit felt something brush past his body. This was divine sense? She was using her divine sense to probe the corpse puppet? What the hell was this fallen evil sick? Instead of making the best use of his time to escape, he was actually using his divine sense to probe the corpse puppet? Was there anyone in the world who didn't know what corpse puppets were like? What was the use of probing them? Could he skin them alive and pull out their tendons? I see. Night Spirit was madly ridiculing in his heart when he heard the girl's slightly hoarse voice. As long as it comes into contact with any kind of energy in the air, the poison will split and regenerate infinitely. Just like the pie poison that Little Nine's master told me about. So, there are only 2 ways to really get rid of it. 1. Before it splits, use overwhelming power to completely engulf the pie poison and the energy in their bodies. This is what Han Yi said, that they can't completely kill it, but Di Mingju can do it. Because only Di Mingju can use divine power. Or, make a kind of poison that splits faster than the pie poison and is more sensitive to energy. Let the pie poison be unable to swallow, unable to split, and unable to live. Night Spirit was quite dumbfounded. What was this woman mumbling about? She could clearly understand every word, but why couldn't she understand what they meant when they were put together? Tiske. No wonder everyone said that humans were hypocritical and eccentric. But she had just saved him. Night Spirit couldn't help shouting again, "Fallen evil, what are you standing there for? Why aren't you running? Do you think you're those bald donkeys from Defying Temple, murmuring to kill the corpse puppets?" It was unknown which of his words had poked the girl's lung tube. Her beautiful face, which was already cold, suddenly turned cold. The chilling aura emanating from his body caused Night Spirit to shudder. Even those corpse puppets seemed to be frozen, their steps slowed for a moment. Night Spirit stammered, Did I say something wrong? The people of Defying Temple are bald donkeys." The girl's dark eyes were deep and bottomless. Her pink lips moved slightly, and a voice that was even more coarse but mixed with killing intent came out. "Yes. A damn bald donkey." She took another deep breath and said in a low voice, "I can't take the zither out, so I can't use the golden silkworm to fight poison with poison. Then I can only use divine power. This is my first time using it. I hope I won't lose control." Night Spirit opened its mouth, wanting to say something. The sword light flashed again. One sword flattened mountains and seas. One sword shook the 9 provinces. In his daze, Night Spirit could not even remember what happened next. She only knew that when she regained consciousness and could close her gaping mouth, the corpse puppets, that couldn't be killed no matter what had happened, had completely disappeared. Not even a speck of bone ash was left. Oh no, there's still one left. The only remaining seedling was currently roaring and pouncing towards the girl. However, not only did his ferocious appearance not inspire fear, it even made him seem a bit pitiful. Then Night Spirit saw it being pierced through by a transparent long sword. A ball of silver flames rose from the tip of the sword and spread to the entire body of the corpse puppet. Then there was no then. The last corpse puppet also disappeared without a trace. Chapter 4008. Night Spirit did not know if those corpse puppets that were burned to death would be reborn somewhere else. Logically speaking, those below the demon general level could not use divine power and could not really kill corpse puppets. But for some reason Night Spirit had a feeling that those corpse puppets were really dead, the kind that could not come back to life. The white-clothed, blood-stained girl held her sword in a reverse grip and slowly withdrew it. Her beautiful face was as cold as ice. There was no fear, no smugness, no bragging. It was as if killing so many corpse puppets was a piece of cake. That was more than 100 corpse puppets. Night Spirit felt that her brain was about to be filled with fuck. She opened her mouth and was about to speak. But the girl's body suddenly swayed and she fell. "Be careful." Without even thinking, Night Spirit pounced over and caught her. "Are you alright? Did you get bitten by the corpse puppets? That can't be." This valiant master had just killed a corpse puppet with a single slash of his sword, as if he was chopping melons and vegetables. The corpse puppets could not even get close to her, so she couldn't have been bitten. The girl waved her hand and took out a bottle of elixir. Then she said indifferently, "I just overused my divine power. I'm fine." "What divine power?" "You're wrong. It's magic power, right? Is divine power something that small fries like us can use? The number of people who can use divine power in the entire hidden abyss can be counted on one hand." Night Spirit complained while glancing at her, her face full of jealousy. "You spirit cultivators are so generous. Even a fallen evil has a storage device. Is it the ring on your hand or that bracelet?" It was a pity that she still had to use this big Chenkuan bag that could not hold many things. The girl gently touched the cracked ring in her hand and frowned slightly. Her watery eyes were tinged with some worry. Night Spirit did not know what he had poked into her heart again. But now she did not dare to treat the little girl as an ordinary fallen evil. How could a fallen evil kill more than 100 corpse puppets without blinking an eye? The girl suddenly asked, "Where's the nearest main city? How do I get there?" Night Spirit hurriedly said, "The nearest must be Bloody Flame City. I live there. The main city's barrier will open in 4 hours. I'll take you there. Take it as repayment for saving my life." The girl nodded and said, "Thank you." Night Spirit hesitated for a moment before he could not help but ask, "I'm Night Spirit. What about you? What's your name? Don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to find out who you were before you fell to the fallen evil. It's just that I can't keep calling you Hey or Fallen Evil, right?" The girl met Night Spirit's gaze in silence. Her peach blossom eyes were clear and bright, and the corners of her eyes were slightly raised, as if they contained 1,000 kinds of amorous feelings. But when it landed on the young girl's face, it only gave off a chilling murderous aura. Night Spirit shrunk its neck and thought to itself, "Fine, I won't say anything then." Could you not look at me with such a horrifying gaze? It was quite scary. However, at the next moment she heard the hoarse voice of the girl. My name is Yap Liangqin. Polar Domain High Sky Hall. The night was dark and windy. A figure silently entered through the half-open window and walked towards the woman sleeping peacefully on the bed. Swoosh. Suddenly, an oil lamp at the head of the bed lit up like a human hand. It reflected the old man's face. Chapter 4009. Commander Tong. The person who has come is actually Commander Tong. Right now, she's lowering her head to look at the woman on the bed, her eyes carrying a touch of coldness and contempt. The corners of her mouth slowly curve up as if mocking, but also laughing carefreely. Her slightly rough voice rings out in the quiet night. Yu Yanran, don't pretend to be asleep, I know you're awake. The long eyelashes of the woman on the bed slightly tremble, but she doesn't open them. A harsh light flashes in Commander Tong's eyes, and a blade of air is already swung out. You. The woman on the bed snaps open her eyes and jumps up, narrowly avoiding the blade of air. She looks at her sleeve that's been cut, anger flashing through her beautiful peach blossom eyes. Commander Tong, what are you doing? Commander Tong sneers. Yu Yanran, are you playing with me and burning the bridge after crossing the river? I'm talking to you, and you dare to pretend not to hear and ignore me? Believe it or not, I can expose you right now and let you die without a burial ground. The woman's face contorts. The originally peerless countenance that can topple cities shows a bit of malevolence at this moment. But thinking that the plan hasn't succeeded, she still swallows back the breath that's stuck in her chest. Her face shows a fawning smile. Commander Tong, you also know that we're walking on a thin thread right now. A little carelessness and we'll die a horrible death. Of course I have to be careful. Since entering the polar domain, I've thought of myself as the amnesiac Jun Mayan. Commander Tong, you also know how cunning and sensitive those people around Dijun are. A little bit of carelessness and we might reveal a flaw. I didn't answer you just now because I was afraid that there would be people watching around. Commander Tong snorts coldly, accepting her explanation. But he says with disdain, rest assured, those people are very respectful towards this lowly mortal Jun Mayan. Without Jun Shang's order, they absolutely wouldn't dare to watch at will. At most, they would quietly protect the periphery. When I came here, I avoided being seen and heard, and I've already released my divine sense to ensure that there won't be anyone spying on us. Don't be so paranoid. You want to become the mistress of the polar domain with just this bit of courage? Yu Yanran was filled with hatred, but she did not dare to offend Commander Tong. She has no choice but to speak kindly. Without Aunt Tong's help, I would have already died in the hands of Han Yi and the other dog servants. How could I have the opportunity to use the magnificent quicksand, and even replace Mayan in marrying Dijun? Aunt Tong, your great kindness to me, Yanran will never forget it. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely repay you 100-fold. Only then did Commander Tong reveal a satisfied expression. Yu Yanran said carefully, it's just that Aunt Tong also knows that what we are doing must not be discovered by others. If we are the slightest bit careless, I will naturally be consigned to eternal damnation. However, Aunt Tong, who was in charge of executing me, will also be implicated. Commander Tong's expression turned cold. You dare threaten me? Of course this is not a threat. Yu Yanran smiled lightly. It is a reminder. Aunt Tong, you must remember that in this world there is no longer Yu Yanran. There is only Dijun's fiancée, the future mistress of the polar domain, Jun Mayan, which is also me. Commander Tong sneers. Aren't you afraid that the real Jun Mayan will appear and expose your true colors? Chapter 40:10. What's more, once I get Dijun's favor, I'll have power in my hands. As soon as that slut appears, I'll have her killed. A puny golden immortal who ascended from the lower realms, without strength or background, killing her would be as simple as killing an ant. Commander Tong looks at the cruel and treacherous smile on her beautiful face, and a chill rises up his back for no reason. There's actually a faint trace of regret in his heart. Is it really good to keep such a person by Jun Shang's side and let her become the mistress of the polar domain? But when he thinks of Han Yi and the others' neglect towards him, and the power that's gradually being taken away from his hands, Commander Tong can't help but feel unreconciled. She wants to stand in a higher position, she wants to be closer to Jun Shang than Elder Chang and Han Yi. She wants everyone in the polar domain to revere and fear her. This is the position that she should have. And now, all she can rely on is this woman in front of her. Commander Tong says with a cold face, I came here tonight to remind you that Jun Shang wasn't in the polar domain for some time. After he came back, he went into seclusion and didn't come out. If I'm not wrong, Jun Shang should have been seriously injured. That hateful Chang'ing actually stopped me from visiting Jun Shang. Now you're the only one who can see Jun Shang in broad daylight. Hearing that, Yu Yanran is delighted. Di Mingju was injured? That's really great. People are the most vulnerable when they're injured and they need care the most. At the same time, their senses are the dullest, and they're unable to think carefully. In this way, the possibility of her being discovered as an imposter is even lower. And during this time, she only needs to take good care of Di Mingju and have skin contact with him. What harm would there be in being discovered again in the future? Yu Yanran presses down the joy in her heart and nods. Rest assured, I'll definitely find a way to see Di Jun. Hee. They can stop everyone in the world, but can they stop me, Di Jun's fiancé? It's just, Commander Tong, you should pay more attention to your conduct in the future. Right now I'm not Yu Yanran but Jun Mayan. Commander Tong must remember this. Commander Tong's complexion is extremely unsightly. With a cold snort, he turns and leaves. Yu Yanran looks at his departing figure, and the corners of her lips curl up in ridicule. Then, a brilliant light blossomed in his eyes as he slowly clenched his fists. The island of Linglong was destroyed, and his trusted subordinates either died or betrayed him. The pain of consuming the magnificent quicksand made her wish that she was dead. But she made it through. Now she had nothing. Even his face was no longer his own. Therefore she could not lose. She, Yu Yanran, must obtain the monarch's heart and become the mistress of the polar domain. Under the hidden abyss, Blood Flame City. Yiliangchen, what are you doing? The barrier is finally open. Quick, follow me. Hearing the shouts of the female demon soldier, Mu Yen retracted her gaze from the crimson sky and slowly walked up. She never expected that when she opened her eyes, she would actually be in the Xioshin continent. Moreover, it wasn't in the polar domain, nor was it in the nether domain. Instead, it was in the hidden abyss where the demon race resided. Mu Yen doesn't dare to recall what happened on the floating island in the end. No matter how many times she thought about it, she would feel so much pain that she couldn't breathe whenever she thought about how her little uncle master had severed his own meridians and slowly collapsed in front of her. There's also the hatred of her own powerlessness and weakness. They, the Xiaoyao 7, always thought that they were very strong, but in reality they couldn't save anyone. Mu Yan's memory of what happened afterwards becomes fuzzy. It's like she's caught in an endless nightmare. Chapter 40:11. Mu Yen seems to have fallen into an endless nightmare. Her soul has been reincarnated again and again in the misery of her previous life, desperately trying to break free, but to no avail. Then she sees Di Mingju. She hears the man say to her, Yen, how could I leave you behind? How could I leave you behind in the first place? The voice is mournful and desperate, painful and hopeful. Hearing it, Mu Yan's heart aches. What happened after that? What happened? How could she appear in the hidden abyss of the demons? Where is Di Mingju? There are some vague images in her mind, but she can't remember them very clearly. She gently caresses the void spirit ring that has already cracked and can no longer be hidden. Mu Yen lowers her head and gently touches the ring with her lips. Di Mingju, you saved me, right? Wait for me, I will go to the polar domain to find you. Here, that's the place to test the magic course. By the way, do you have Tenmabe? Mu Yen blinks and looks at the demon woman opposite her. Night Spirit let out a tragic cry. No way. You don't have Mabe, do you want me to help you? How could I have Tenmabe? If she had Tenmabe, she would have gone to buy food long ago. Would she still need to risk her life in the Demon Cloud Ridge? Mu Yen frowns. Is there a shop here that accepts elixirs? You mean the elixirs of spirit cultivators? Night Spirit curls his lips. We demons can't absorb that kind of thing. Even if you sell it, no one will buy it unless you can sell it to a main city of 3 stars or above. There are demon lords who go in and out of the hidden abyss to do business with humans, and perhaps there are people who are willing to accept elixirs of spirit cultivators. Our Blood Flame City only accepts devil elixirs. The main cities of the demon race are also divided into levels, ranging from 1 star to 5 stars. Blood Flame City is the lowest level of 1-star city. And there is only one 5-star city, and that is the Demon Imperial City where the Demon Lord Jun Shirtian resides. Mu Yen is also at a loss at this time. Spirit cultivators don't accept anything? Not even magic treasures? Night Spirit spreads his hands. I'm telling you, low-level demons can't use anything from you spirit cultivators. This is troublesome. Night Spirit suddenly said, perhaps there's another way. In the square in the center of the city, there will be people giving out missions. Since you're so powerful, you can go and accept missions to earn Mabe. She paused and was about to explain how much the devils in Bloody Flame City discriminated against fallen evils, so she should not go to the center of the city to ask for trouble. But Mu Yen doesn't wait for her to finish. She already turns around and says, "I'll try." Fuck. Why didn't you let me finish? Really, don't you humans love to beat around the bush and beat around the bush 3 times? How could a fallen evil like you be more decisive than a natural-born monster like me? Night Spirit hurriedly caught up with Mu Yen, thinking of a way to conceal her appearance as a fallen evil. However, he suddenly realized that everyone in the plaza was crowding around a magic crystal platform in the middle, and they were talking noisily about something. For a time, not to mention her fallen evil friends, there was not even a single one who posted or accepted a mission. Everyone's attention was drawn to the magic crystal platform. Quiet. Quiet. All of you quiet down. The city lord has important news to announce. There is a short man standing on the magic crystal platform. He held 2 gigantic hammers in his hands and swung them in the air, causing a loud thud. The people who were initially noisy were shocked and immediately quietened down. Chapter 40:12. Seeing that the surroundings had quietened down, the short man put away his hammer in satisfaction. He rubbed his nose and said loudly, "The demon lord has ordered that tomorrow, the princess's betrothal contest will be held in the entire hidden abyss." As soon as these words came out, all the devils in the surroundings revealed a blank expression. Someone raised a hand and screamed, "Princess? Which princess? What's the betrothal contest?" Dong. The short demon instantly took out a giant hammer and smashed it down. "Idiot, our demon race doesn't have a princess. Naturally, she is the only daughter of our most honorable, great and revered Lord Devil Lord. Apart from this lucky and honorable lord, who else in the world is worthy of the title of princess? What's the betrothal contest? Are you an illiterate who can't read? Can't you even understand human language? The betrothal contest is naturally to find a son-in-law. The chosen one will become the princess's husband and the demon sovereign's son-in-law. You idiots should understand now, right?" Whoosh. As soon as these words came out, the entire square instantly boiled over. The sounds of discussion, screams, and inquiries almost overturned the entire Blood Flame City. The short demon was so angry that he smashed his hammer a few times to calm everyone down. Someone else said, "If I remember correctly, the demon princess already has a fiancé, right? If she's already betrothed to someone else, how can she remarry?" The one who spoke was a slightly hoarse but surprisingly pleasant voice. It was hard to tell if it was a man or a woman. The short demon looked into the crowd, trying to figure out who was speaking. However, there were too many people, so he couldn't tell where the voice came from. He could only harumph and scream, "Don't say that the short-lived son-in-law died early. The betrothal has already been cancelled. Even if he's not dead, our princess has such a noble identity. So what if she marries 2 more son-in-laws? Don't you think so?" "Yes. Long live the demon sovereign, long live the princess. I'm willing to be the princess's lover. Choose me, choose me. Piss off. What right do you have to be chosen by the princess and the demon sovereign? You should choose me." "Sir, how do we participate in the betrothal contest? Our Blood Flame City is only the lowest level 1-star capital city. Do you think we have the qualifications to participate?" Dong dong dong. The short devil hammered the hammer 3 times in a row before announcing loudly, "The demon sovereign has decreed that anyone who is a citizen of the Hidden Abyss sect can participate in this marriage selection. Regardless of whether they were heaven-raised devils or fallen evils, they were all treated equally." But the giant hammer knocked again, signaling for everyone to stop shouting. The short demon narrowed his eyes as he swept his gaze over everyone present and sneered, "The demon lord said that if one wants to become one of the princess's son-in-law, one's background is not important. The most important things were looks and strength. Therefore there are only 2 points in this selection. First, it's your appearance. The Devil Imperial City has sent selection envoys to all the major cities. By then, you will be judged by the selection envoys in turn. If your looks are not up to standard, you will not be eligible for the selection. You will be eliminated directly. Secondly, your strength. The selection method was very simple, and that was to fight on this magic crystal platform every 3 days. In the end, those who could defeat all the demons in Blood Flame City would be able to stand out and go to a 2-star main city. The one who wins first place in a 2-star main city will go to a 3-star main city. Chapter 40:13. In the end, the winners of all the 4-star main cities will gather at the Demon Imperial City to decide the final winner. That lucky one will be the princess's son-in-law. The enthusiasm of the crowd decreased by more than half. How many demons were there in Blood Flame City? Wasn't it a fool's dream to want to defeat everyone in the city and become the first in Scarlet Flame City? Not to mention that Scarlet Flame City was only a 1-star main city. What was the use even if they won there? Those in the 2-star main cities were all demon soldiers or demon guards above the 9th rank. There was no way they could win no matter what. The short demon coughed a few times because he was shouting too loudly. When he looked up and saw that they were all dejected like frosted eggplants, he couldn't help but reveal a look of disdain. Look at you guys. Our Blood Flame City only has cowards like you. Even if we choose someone to go to a 2-star main city, you'll only be a joke. All of you listen up. The short demon knocked twice and raised his voice even more. The great demon lord thinks highly of the young talents of our demon race, so he decided to choose a son-in-law in the hidden abyss. In order to show how much he values everyone, the demon lord has prepared generous prizes for the winners of each main city. The prize for the first place in our Blood Flame City is 100,000 mabe. Hiss. All the demons present sucked in a breath of cold air, revealing greedy and hopeful expressions. Night Spirit, who was standing beside Mu Yen, swallowed his saliva and muttered indignantly, "Damn it, why isn't it a prince choosing a concubine? Otherwise I would be able to participate. 100,000 mabe, that's 100,000 mabe." As Night Spirit recited, he couldn't help but look at Mu Yen. Suddenly he was startled. "What's wrong with you? Why is your face whiter than a corpse demon's?" And his eyes were surging with intense sorrow and anger. Who had provoked her again? "Alright, why did you suddenly ask Lord Maya a question just now? You scared me? And how did you know that the princess has a former son-in-law?" "I don't even know." Mu Yen closes her eyes and doesn't answer her. When she opens them again, the emotions in her eyes have been completely restrained. At this time the short demon was still shouting, "The higher the level of the main city, the more generous the reward. However, I don't expect you idiots to achieve anything in a 2-star main city. It's fine as long as you don't lose face." Alright, I finished reading the city lord's announcement. You should all disperse. Those who are interested in participating in the betrothal contest can come here tomorrow to be selected by the selection agents. Do you understand? Understood. We're not idiots. It's 100,000 mabe. Hehe, I'm going to get it. Get lost, the 100,000 mabe is mine. I've never left Blood Flame City in my life. It would be great if I have the chance to go to a 2-star main city to take a look. Night Spirit could not help but gulp a few more times. He looked at the male devil cultivators with envy and jealousy. Damn it. When she transformed, why didn't she turn into a man? What a pity. That's 100,000 mabe. But when he thought about how his cultivation had dropped to the 3rd rank of a demon weapon and the demon core that was missing a hole, Night Spirit's face fell again. Forget it. It's better not to think about it. Yi Liangshan, aren't you going to accept a mission? That seems to be. Chapter 40:14. Due to unknown reasons, this site is not available on Sogu today. Please remember the domain name, Book Ocean Pavilion, and find your way home. The girl's cold and hoarse voice came to her ears. The people of the Xiaoyao sect can't be abandoned so easily. Even if little Uncle Master was dead, she couldn't. Even if she was a noble demon princess, she could not. Mu Yen clenched her fists. She still remembered the conversation between little Uncle Master and her at the Ning family. Little Uncle Master, didn't you agree to this marriage? You don't like the demon princess? I did it willingly. This engagement is of my own free will. I don't regret it in this life. Even if the demon princess had a new lover, even if the demon lord didn't like little Uncle Master's identity as a human, they shouldn't have broken off the marriage when little Uncle Master's life was uncertain. They even recruited a son-in-law in the hidden abyss. What did they treat little Uncle Master as? A decoration that could come and go at his beck and call? Mu Yan's eyes were filled with coldness. At the very least, she had to ask the demon princess if she had no feelings for little Uncle Master. Also, it was said that the marriage between little Uncle Master and the demon princess was set on the 3-life stone. The name written on the 3-life stone was like a link to the soul. Regardless of whether the name was dead or alive, the 3-life stone would react. She wanted to confirm with her own eyes if little Uncle Master was really dead. Oh no, the betrothal contest is going to be held tomorrow, so the original mission has been cancelled. Night Spirit looked around and frowned. Hey, what are you going to do now? The barrier to the Demon Cloud Ridge won't be open for the time being. Otherwise you could kill a few demonic beasts to earn mabe. Just as he was speaking, A few male demons nearby inadvertently looked over. When they saw Mu Yan's face clearly, they drooled and revealed greedy and excited expressions. Night Spirit's heart tightened and she hurriedly grabbed Mu Yan. "You don't have a place to stay tonight, do you? Go to my place and make do. Hypocritical fallen evil, I'm warning you, don't complain about my cave, or I'll bite you to death." A trace of warmth flits through Mayan's eyes, and she obediently lets her be pulled away. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at the few male demons who were quietly following him, and the corners of his mouth curled into a cold smile. 2 hours later, outside the main city. Night Spirit could not help but gulp as he looked at the few male fiends who were unconscious on the ground and stripped naked. Mu Yan counted the mabe in her hands and frowned. "There are only 25 of them. You're so poor, yet you still have the nerve to rob us. But at least we can test the magic cores now. Let's go back to the city." Night Spirit's mouth was agape and her eyes were wide open. She only managed to find her voice after a long while. "Why, you crippled them just like that? That was 3 rank 7 MO weapons and 4 rank 6 MO weapons. Why did this little fallen evil girl kill them as easily as chopping melons and vegetables?" Mu Yan glances at her and says hesitantly, "Sure enough, it's better to kill them?" Night Spirit gulped again. Who said that fallen evils could be bullied? The seemingly innocent and harmless fallen evil in front of her was so terrifying. After that, Night Spirit was in a daze the entire time. Following Mu Yan back to the main city, she watched in a daze as Mu Yan handed over 10 mabe and requested to test the magic core level. The person in charge of the magic core testing room was an old man with a big head and a small body. After putting away the mabe, he touched a black ball and gestured for Mu Yan to put her hand on it before releasing her magic power. Chapter 40:15. He watched as the girl's fair and slender fingers gently pressed against the black crystal ball. Night Spirit could not help but hold his breath. Now even she was curious about the cultivation level of this fallen evil she had picked up from the Demon Cloud Ridge. A fallen evil at such a young age was able to kill more than 100 corpse puppets in one breath. He could easily defeat a rank 7 MO weapon. What level would her monster core be? Rank 9 demon weapon? Or even higher? Bang! Just as Night Spirit was deep in his thoughts, he heard a deafening sound. Following that, a powerful energy shock wave flipped him over and he fell to the ground. Cough, cough, cough. Night Spirit looked up blankly as he circulated his magic power to protect his body. What happened? When the dust dissipated, Night Spirit saw a young girl who was just as confused as her. She was pinching the crystal ball that had already been crushed into powder. The magic core testing crystal ball shattered? Broken? Night Spirit almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What was wrong with this fallen evil? He was just testing the magic core level, but it was actually shattered by the magic core crystal. The little old man in the examination room was clearly even more shocked than Night Spirit and Mu Yan. A pair of dark brown mung-bean eyes stare at Mayan as if looking at a monster. At this time, Mu Yan couldn't help but reveal a somewhat embarrassed expression. She coughed lightly and looked at the little old man. It's broken? What should we do?" She was a little vexed. If she had known that this thing was so fragile, she would have just injected a little magic power to test it. The little old man stared at her for a long while before he slowly regained his composure. He said meaningfully, "The innate attributes of your monster core are too high. It is not something that my lowest grade monster core crystal can detect. If you want to know the grade of your monster core, go to a 3-star main city. There might be high-tier monster crystals there that can test your monster core." After coming out of the examination room, Night Spirit looked at Mu Yan as though he was looking at a monster. There were a few times when he wanted to say something but stopped himself. Her curiosity and reverence towards Mayan has simply reached the extreme. Who was this girl named Yi Liangqin? Were they really fallen evils? No matter how strong the fallen evils were, the innate properties of their magic cores were always lower than those of natural demons. But even those innate demonic creatures that had already reached the level of Demon Master. He had never heard of anyone exploding a magic core crystal during a level assessment. To begin with, Night Spirit's intellect was not high enough. Now it was nearly clawing its own head open. So much so that she didn't notice that after Mu Yan came out of the examination room, she didn't go straight home with her. Instead he turned into a clothing store. "All right, let's go." A familiar voice sounded in his ears. The slightly lowered voice was pleasant and neutral, making it hard to tell whether it was a man or a woman. Night Spirit looked up instinctively and asked, "Where are we going?" What he saw was a handsome young man dressed in coarse black clothes. "Didn't you tell me not to dislike your cave?" Of course I'm going to your house. Night Spirit looked around, wanting to find the familiar figure of that peerless beauty. However, the surroundings were empty. Apart from the young man in front of him, there was no one else. Night Spirit hesitated. Yongchen? Mayan nods. It's me. Why are you dressed like this? In the fiend race, the strong were respected. No one would look down on women, and no one would have tender feelings for women. Chapter 4016. Due to unknown reasons, this website is suddenly unavailable on Sogu today. Fellow readers, please remember this website's domain name, Book Ocean Pavilion, and find your way home. That was because there would be no benefits even if she were to disguise herself. It would be even easier to discover her with a sweep of her spirit consciousness. However, Night Spirit was shocked to discover that she could not see through Yi Liangchen's disguise at all. It was a skinny youth with peerless looks. At most, he looked too fair and tender, like a male pet of those high-level demonesses. Night Spirit even scanned with her spirit consciousness but could not find any flaws. Night Spirit did not know that it was because Mu Yan's spirit consciousness was way too powerful. All she had to do was condense a bit of her spirit consciousness as a barrier, and others would not be able to detect her bone structure, age and gender. Even those with cultivation realms higher than hers would not be able to break through that spirit consciousness barrier. Let alone a mere demonic soldier like Night Spirit. Mu Yan's gaze landed on the square. A few hours ago, the demons announced that they were going to find a husband for their princess. The woman that Little Uncle Master liked was going to marry someone else soon. Yet she did not even know if Little Uncle Master was still alive. Are you disguising as a man because you want to? Mu Yan closed her eyes and looked at Night Spirit. I'm going to participate in the matchmaking contest. Night Spirit's eyes widened and she blurted, What? Are you crazy? A woman like you is going to participate in the matchmaking contest? Don't tell me you want to marry the princess. Mu Yan looked at her without saying anything. Suddenly, Night Spirit came to a realization. Why you want to use this method to get to a 3-star main city? That's not impossible. You're so strong. If you can stand out in the 1 and 2-star main cities, you'll be able to get to a 3-star main city in a short period of time. The main cities of the demon race were extremely far apart. Along the way there were demonic creatures and corpse puppets that could not be reached easily. Furthermore, the barrier of each main city would only be opened periodically to allow one to go out. It would take at least 3 to 5 years to reach a 3-star main city alone. 3 to 5 years was not considered long for demons, but Mu Yan clearly could not wait. Participating in the matchmaking contest and winning the 1 and 2-star main cities competition was the fastest and easiest way to get to a 3-star main city. Night Spirit frowned. As long as you intentionally lose in a 3-star main city, you'll be able to escape successfully. But fucking hell, you're still too daring. Do you know how many worshippers there are in the hidden abyss? Do you know how high our status in the hidden abyss is as a princess who was blessed by heaven and earth? I'm telling you, if you're discovered, killing you would be considered a light punishment. Do you believe that those ruthless big shots in the Devil Imperial City can make you beg for death for the next 100 years? Mayan reached out and patted her on the shoulder. Night Spirit, thank you for your worry. I know what I'm doing. Who's worried about you? I was afraid that you would implicate me. Mayan hooks up her lips and chuckles, but she quickly restrains herself. She didn't tell the tough but soft-hearted female MO soldier. She did not intend to give up the competition in a 3-star main city. She wanted to enter the 5-star magic fantasy city and meet the demon race's princess. At the very least, she wanted to personally ask the demon race's princess what she felt about her little Uncle Master. At the very least, she wanted to see the contract on the 3-life stone with her own eyes and confirm if her little Uncle Master was still alive. Of course, before that she had to leave the hidden abyss and contact Di Mingju. As her internal injuries recovered over the past 2 days, she slowly recalled the last scene on the floating island. Using one's soul to nurture another, exchanging a life for a life. Chapter 4017. Di Mingju wanted to sacrifice himself to save her. But at the critical moment, Mu Yan's Shin musician skill, Nirvana of Stars, erupted. Nirvana of Stars is a derivative skill born from the realm of stars. The moment Nirvana of Stars erupted, the realm of stars, as a whole rose by 2 stars. In the end it formed Mu Yan's small Nirvana world. 7 people's bodies and souls were placed in the 7 small worlds. Di Mingju Yunruhan Qingjiu Chumoli Lingyuma Lingyuxing Lan Luoyu. Nirvana of Stars will repair the injuries of their bodies and souls in the small world. Only when they are completely healed will they leave the small world. But Mu Yen was too weak at the time. She was no longer able to control these small worlds. After creating a small world for herself, she completely fainted. Now it seems that these small worlds should have inadvertently opened a space barrier passage and sent her to the demon race. But how are Di Mingju and his fellow apprentices now? Have they also arrived at the Xiuxian continent? Are they still alive and well? Her fingers gently stroke the void spirit ring on her finger. Mu Yen closes her eyes and forces herself to calm down. It's okay, nothing will happen. Di Mingju and his fellow apprentices must still be alive. One day they will meet again. Min Wei had just come out of seclusion when he heard the news that the Demon Lord is holding a marriage selection for Her Highness in the Hidden Abyss. Elder Min Wei's knees soften, he almost kneels. He hurriedly runs to see Jun Shirtian. Demon Lord, what's going on? Her Highness hasn't been found yet. Why are you holding a marriage selection? Didn't you say that Her Highness and Polar Domain's Emperor might? Letting Di Mingju and 2 men serve one wife is already outrageous enough. Now they are actually looking for another son-in-law in the Hidden Abyss. 3 men and 1 woman, one of them is Polar Domain's Emperor, the other is a 3rd-rank inheritor of the Dark Yin Sacred Flame. Min Wei feels a little dizzy. He urgently needs to calm down and slow down. Jun Shirtian glanced at him indifferently. A hint of disdain could be seen in his cold eyes. Tianhe said carelessly, "It's all because of those dogs in the Nether Realm who went back on their words. In order to find out the whereabouts of Her Royal Highness, I went to the Nether Realm with the wine boy to see our future Emperor's son-in-law. Oh, I should call him the first Emperor's son-in-law now." Yao Dao, who was drinking, spat out the water in his mouth. The expression on his face was indescribable. First son-in-law. So it was confirmed that there would be a second son-in-law and a third son-in-law? Wait a minute. Then what was the ranking of the Polar Domain's sovereign emperor? Min Wei's face was completely frozen. After a long while, he wiped his face and said expressionlessly, "Whatever happened in this room today, if you hear it, no one is allowed to spread it outside this room. Do you hear me?" Seeing that everyone nodded, even Jun Shirtian did not object. Min Wei looked at Tianhe and said, "Continue." Tianhe's lips curled up. He really wanted to retort, "What's wrong with the Extreme Domain's sovereign emperor? Why are you so scared?" But he was raised by Min Wei and he was used to being lectured by him. He could only say obediently, "In the end, Yin Wuji actually told me that the first emperor's son-in-law was already dead, and that Her Royal Highness's 3-year engagement was cancelled ahead of time. If the demon race still intends to form an alliance with the Nether Realm, then the engagement will be changed and his youngest son Yin Yuani will be engaged to Her Royal Highness." Pe. Chapter 40:18. Who doesn't know that Yin Yuani, that idiot, is now half dead, directly beaten into a cripple by Di Mingju. Yin Wuji, that old fox, actually wants to trick our princess into getting engaged to that trash. Does he really think that we demons are fools, that we can be fooled so easily? When Min Wei heard this, he was stunned. Dead? Luo Yunxiao is dead? How is that possible? He couldn't help but look at Jun Shirtian. Jun Shirtian frowned slightly. Ever since the marriage was set, no one has been able to approach the 3 live stone. Therefore, no one knew if the engagement had been cancelled or if Luo Yunxiao was really dead. But one thing was certain. The Nether Realm would never honor this marriage agreement again. The wine boy also opened his mouth and said, "Tianhe and I also tried to inquire about young Master Yun Zhao's news in the Nether Domain, but ultimately came up empty-handed. Moreover, Yin Wuji's attitude is very strange. When he mentioned young Master Yun Zhao's death, there was not a trace of sadness on his face. It was as if he could not wait for young Master Yun Zhao to die earlier." Shui Jie's beautiful face showed an expression of anger. Those bastards of the Nether Realm, a beauty like the Emperor's son-in-law should be placed in the room to admire. If they didn't want it, they could just give it to us demons, but they actually killed it. What a reckless waste of God's gifts. There isn't a single man in the Polar Domain, and the people in the Nether Domain are all beasts. There really aren't any good spirit cultivators. Ever since she had returned in low spirits from the Polar Domain, Shui Jie had treated this matter as a great humiliation. Even Polar Domain's monarch and Di Mingju's trusted subordinates are disliked by her. When she returned to the Hidden Abyss, she heard that the Polar Domain's sovereign emperor might have already secretly abducted her princess. Her dislike for him rose to the extreme. In other words, Tianhe, Wine Boy, Yao Dao and Shui Jie were all shocked by the news. After the shock, they mercilessly cursed Di Mingju. Damn it. Their princess was still so young, and the people of their devil race hadn't even paid their respects to her, yet she had already been abducted. Although the young master was indeed very cute, but that was absolutely intolerable. As for Her Royal Highness having 2 husbands? On this matter, Xueji and the other 3 had the same thoughts as Jun Shirtian. What's wrong with 2 husbands? Their princess was so noble and unique. Wasn't it too few to have 2 husbands? Only the combination of the 2 best men in the world could barely match up to their princess. Who would have thought that one of the emperor's son-in-law would have a problem? With one less son-in-law, wouldn't Di Mingju have it easy? What if this hypocritical human bullied their princess in the future? Thus, the 4 of them came up with such a whimsical idea. Among the young geniuses of the hidden abyss demon race, the most outstanding and handsome male demon would be chosen to become the fiancé of the princess. At that time, even if the princess really likes Di Mingju and wants to marry him to the polar domain, with this second prince's son-in-law by her side, she won't be bullied by the people of the polar domain. As Min Wei listened to their chattering narration, he once again wiped his face with great difficulty. He really wanted to shout at these naive fellows. What do you take the polar domain Empyrean lord to be? First Fuma, second Fuma, and third Fuma? Letting the polar domain sovereign emperor share a wife with another man? To think that you can think of it. Tianhe refused to accept it. Human men have 3 wives and 4 concubines, why can't our princess? Could it be that our princess's nobility and excellence can't compare to those stinking men? Chapter 40:19. Min Wei thought, it's really tiring to talk to this group of silly demons. He coughed lightly and looked at Jun Shirtan. Demon Lord, have you really thought it through? Jun Shirtan's eyes were cold as he sneered. I sent someone to the polar domain to ask Di Mingju, but he didn't even want to meet me. Since that's the case, I'll let him come over obediently. Min Wei stared blankly, then immediately understood. Those guys from Tianhe came up with this marriage selection. It was indeed nonsense. But Jun Shirtian agreed, his intention was definitely not just a child's play. During this time, the demon race almost sent most of their spies to the mortal world to search for the whereabouts of the princess, but in the end they found nothing. Now that young Master Yun Zhao's whereabouts are unknown, the marriage contract of 3 lives can't be investigated. The only way to find the princess is Di Mingju. If Di Mingju and the princess really have feelings for each other, when he heard that Jun Shirtian wanted to marry the princess, he would definitely come to obstruct them. If Di Mingju mercilessly turned a blind eye to it, then the princess would break all ties with him, and this marriage selection could also choose an excellent husband for the princess. Jun Shirtian's mouth curved into a cold smile. What's the big deal about the election in the hidden abyss? If Di Mingju doesn't come, I can still hold a banquet and invite all the demon cultivators, important cultivators and spirit cultivators in the Xiaoshan continent. Looking at the 3 realms and 6 paths, I don't believe that my daughter can't find a better one than Di Mingju. Min Wei swallowed his saliva and finally swallowed back the words he was about to say. Forget it, he couldn't care less about this. What's more, the demon lord was not wrong. The news of Her Royal Highness was close at hand, but they couldn't find her. Di Mingju clearly knew but refused to tell. If it was him, he would also be angry. Since the demon race was unhappy, then naturally they would make other people unhappy as well. Well, in this marriage selection, they must find a good enough and handsome husband for Her Royal Highness. At that time, let Di Mingju regret it. But Jun Shang, young Master Yun Zhao's death should be a bit strange. Should we go check it out? After all, he was their princess's ex-fiancé. Jun Shirtian slightly lowered his eyelids, covering the complicated light in his eyes. He whispered, no need. The actual competition for the betrothal contest would only begin in the afternoon. But early in the morning, the square in the center of Blood Flame City was already packed with people. Because on that day, a messenger from the Demon Imperial City would personally select the male demons who were qualified to participate in the selection. A simple tent had already been set up in the northeast corner of the square. There was a long queue outside the tent. At that moment, Mu Yan was also in the middle of the group with Night Spirit standing beside her. From time to time he would look into the tent with a nervous and terrified expression. Are you sure you want to participate in the election? Let me tell you, you must have been blinded by that 100,000 mabe and going to a 3-star main city. If this matter, the consequences are too severe. Are you really not going to think about it? Is it too late to back out now? Don't you want to go to a 3-star main city? At most, I'll go all out and accompany you. Night Spirit had been trying his best to persuade Mu Yan since last night. Towards this female demon soldier that he had just met, Mu Yan's heart gradually developed a sense of closeness from the initial indifference and alienation. Especially after he learned that Night Spirit wanted to eat him and his cultivation had dropped from rank 5 to rank 3. Chapter 40-20. The demons were indeed cruel and bloodthirsty. But they were also straightforward and cute. Mu Yen patted Night Spirit's shoulder lightly, indicating for her to calm down. She said casually, "If I win 100,000 mabe, I'll give you half." What? Night Spirit's eyes widened as she gulped. Half of 100,000 mabe, that was 50,000 mabe. If she had 50,000 mabe, you're serious? Mu Yen smiled. So, can you shut up and watch quietly? Night Spirit wiped her mouth and obediently stopped talking. However, his eyes were shining with excitement. Pfft. A mocking sneer came from the front. A weakling with thin arms and legs like you wants to win 100,000 mabe? Don't make me laugh to death. Ah. Mu Yen looked up and saw that the one who spoke was a muscular man with a donkey's face and a horse's mouth. Logically speaking, those who could participate in the selection were all young talents of the demon race. But this person's appearance in the eyes of humans was no different from a middle-aged uncle. Mu Yen thought of her little uncle master's peerless elegance, then looked at the muscular man in front of her, as well as the grotesque appearance of the people in the team. She couldn't help but want to cover her face. How blind was that demon princess? After having little Uncle Master as her fiancé, she could actually accept choosing a husband from these crooked melons. Seeing Mu Yen look over, the donkey-faced demon immediately raised his hands and made a clenching motion. The muscles on his chest and arms immediately bulged out. Oh, it also made him look even more grotesque. What are you looking at? Are you envious of my good figure and looks? Ah, stop dreaming. Even if a weakling like you trained for 100 years, you won't have it. As he spoke, he scanned him up and down and shook his head pitifully. How pitiful. With your listless appearance, I'm afraid you won't even be able to pass the selection. TSK, but this is good. Otherwise, with your small body, you'll be crushed to death in the competition. With that, he turned around proudly and looked at the tent that was getting closer and closer with a face full of expectation. Mu Yen was left dumbfounded on the spot. She had never thought that she would be looked down upon in terms of strength. But she had never thought that she would be despised for her looks when she was disguised as a man. Could it be that she was really mistaken? Demons had a different sense of beauty from humans. Did the demon princess like this kind of muscular and strong man, and not that kind of elegant young master like junior martial uncle? Mu Yen looked at the ugly yet confident male devils in the team. For the first time she began to doubt her life. In the tent in the square. You're eliminated. Next. What? I was eliminated? How was this possible? Look at my strong muscles and strong physique. How could I be eliminated? Wait a minute, I refuse to accept this. Did you guys want to monopolize me so you intentionally eliminated me? I refuse to accept this, I refuse to accept this. Bang. A teacup was smashed to the ground. Inside the tent, there were several enchanting evil women in revealing attire. Their expressions were as disgusting as if they had just eaten a fly. Holy shit. What the hell is this? With that strange appearance of his, I still want to monopolize him, ugh. This old lady wants to vomit. In fact, Mu Yen didn't know that not all demons had this kind of strange appearance. Chapter 40-21. The stronger the innate properties of the cores, the closer they would be to human standards of beauty. Therefore, in the 3 or 4-star main cities, there were many demons who looked similar to humans and were even more handsome than humans. However, none of the low-grade devilish beings in Bloody Flame City were aware of this. They truly felt that they were strong and handsome. Even if they weren't qualified to marry the princess, they could still win the favor of these beautiful evil women and soar to the sky. Thus, everyone who came in was flirtatious and seductive with a confident expression. The evil women who came from the demon imperial city couldn't hold back and almost blew up their tents. The few of them took the tea handed to them by the demon servants behind them and drank a few mouthfuls before they managed to suppress their anger. Then they fanned themselves with their goose feather fans while complaining. This Bloodflame City is indeed worthy of being a primary city. The smell in the air is too unpleasant. I'm afraid I won't be able to stand it for a few more days. This isn't a big deal. Wasn't the most important thing the most unsightly people participating in the election unbearable to look at? What is Sir Chinha thinking? Why does he have to involve a primary city and secondary city? A bunch of ugly and stupid soldiers and guards, how can they be worthy of our princess? It's fine if you say they're ugly, but why are they still so confident that they think they're the most handsome men in the world? They even want me to have him for myself, bah. One of the evil women, who was dressed more innocently than the others, waved her feather fan and giggled, "Sisters, don't be so harsh. Low-ranked demons have only gained intelligence less than 100 years ago, so it's normal for them to have a one-track mind. They simply think that having strong muscles and releasing more mana means that they're powerful. They don't know that true experts aren't like that at all. But since this is Sir Chinha's request, we have to carry it out. Maybe this little blood flame city has some undiscovered pearls, excellent seeds? If that's the case and we find them, then our future benefits." The other evil women revealed longing expressions, but they quickly calmed down. Forget it, what good stuff can there be in this godforsaken place? Just as they were talking, they heard the demon servant's clear voice outside, "Next, come in." The evil women immediately calmed down and sat up straight. They calmly watched as the curtain was lifted, revealing the tall and slender figure of a young man. Dash. Bang. The room was filled with gasps, and the sound of teacups falling to the ground could be heard. After a long while, someone finally spoke. What's your name? Are they natural demons or fallen evils?" The young man looked cold and noble. His voice was slightly hoarse, but it was very pleasant to hear. "My name is Yi Liang Chen." He paused for a moment before continuing. "I am a demon raised by heaven." "What? Are you really a demon raised by heaven?" The evil women all sat up straight. The one in the middle said, "Why don't you release a strand of evil energy for me to see?" Mu Yen slightly lowered her eyelids and spread out her slender white palm. The monster core revolved within her body and a mass of demonic chi slowly condensed in her palm. Such a pure devil chi, it really is a devil raised by heaven. "Where did you transform?" Mu Yen thought for a moment and said, "The Demon Cloud Ridge." Chapter 40-22. Tsk. The Demon Cloud Ridge is a place with such heterogeneous demonic energy, but it can actually transform into such a tempting product? The two demonesses walk in front of Mu Yen and circle around her. Some of them even reach out their hands, wanting to touch her flawless and handsome face. However, Mu Yan's figure slightly moves and she avoids it. Hee, little handsome boy still knows how to be shy. Oh, even with such a frosty appearance, Big Sister is still moved. How about you don't participate in the competition and just go back with Big Sister? Big Sister will take care of you, okay? The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches, and she manages to maintain her frosty persona with great difficulty. "Can I pass the screening?" Pass. If a person of such quality like you can't pass, then all the ugly people in Blood and Flame City can just go die. Oh, I didn't expect that we would really find such a fine product in this trip to a 5-star main city. Even if this kind of stunner can't become the son-in-law, it's not bad to let the princess raise him as a plaything. Several demonesses gather together and excitedly comment on her, completely not caring whether Mu Yen will hear them or not. But even if we want to give him to the princess, at least his strength can't be too weak, right? If he can't even win the competition in a 1-star main city, wouldn't we be laughed at by others when we bring him to the Demon Imperial City? But look at his thin arms and legs, those boorish fellows outside can beat him up with just one punch. I think we should do this, especially pick a few weak people and put them in the same group as this little demon. Let him win a few matches first and then I think this method is feasible. Or else we can kill and cripple all the other ugly people overnight, leaving only this little demon. Wouldn't he be the one and only winner? I think this is also good. Mu Yen, is it really good for you to discuss how to help me cheat in front of a contestant like me? Okay, you've passed the screening. Next, work hard to fight in the competition, okay? I know it's not easy, but little handsome boy, you have to at least win one match with your own strength, then we can help you settle the rest. After all, the competition is in the afternoon, and there's still too little time to play tricks now. Therefore, in the first round, he could only try his best to pit this handsome devil against a weaker opponent so that he would have a greater chance of winning. Mayan expressionlessly says, "Isn't it said that strength is the most important thing in choosing a husband for the princess? Tsk, that's for those ordinary people. That face of yours is worth 100,000 demon soldiers. Strength and whatnot, those are just fleeting clouds." Mayan endured, but in the end she still couldn't hold back. "I heard that the princess's fiancé has a peerless appearance." You've even heard of this? I've also heard that our future prince consort has a peerless appearance. There's no woman in the world who wouldn't fall head over heels for him. But so what? Who would complain about having too many handsome men? Our princess is so noble and great, how can one son-in-law be enough? Then I'll have to choose a few more husbands to raise by my side. Mu Yen, she almost couldn't keep a straight face. His worldview was about to shatter. She couldn't even react in time when a female demon reached out to grope her face. Ayaya, little handsome boy, don't undervalue yourself. With your appearance, even if you can't compare to the prince consort, you won't be too inferior. I believe that Her Highness the Princess will definitely keep you by her side. Chapter 40-23. Mu Yen staggered out of the tent. Night Spirit hurriedly went up. Yiliangshan, how was it? Did you pass the selection? Mu Yen waved her hand dejectedly and did not say anything. Night Spirit's heart skipped a beat. He failed? Fuck, isn't it normal for him to fail? But why did I fail as well? I'm not convinced. Those evil women must be jealous of my valiance. The evil man who was in front of Mu Yen cursed angrily. I want to see who will participate in the final competition. If they are uglier than me, then it must be a conspiracy. Another 2 hours passed. The short demon who announced the announcement with the hammer yesterday stood on the magic crystal platform again. The giant hammer slammed into the air, making a loud bang. The noisy square suddenly quieted down. The groom selection begins now. 10 people in a group will fight on the magic crystal platform. The last one will advance to the next round. Now, those whose names are announced, stand up within 10 breaths or you will be automatically eliminated. Do you hear me? I'm not convinced. With my looks, I can't be eliminated. I'm a grade 8 demonic weapon and I'm not bad looking either. Why can't I participate in the competition? As soon as the short demon finished speaking, a huge commotion broke out below. Bang! The hammer hit the air fiercely, this time imbued with demonic power. The banging sounds were like muffled thunder exploding in everyone's ears, instantly silencing the clamor. The short demon sneered, the judges from Demon Imperial City will be here soon. If you're not convinced, why don't you tell them yourself? While they were talking, several evil women with slender waists and protruding buttocks and revealing clothes leisurely walked to the specially prepared seats. Many of the male demons present could not help but swallow their saliva when they saw that. Someone wanted to speak. The evil woman sitting in the middle narrowed her eyes and released her aura. A demonic cultivator with a lower cultivation spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Demon Lord. They are all demon lords. On the square, the male demons who were expressing their dissatisfaction with indignation just a moment ago immediately fell silent out of fear. The short demon then said loudly, First group, Du Lu Lei Peng Mo Fei, Yiliangshan. Night Spirit's eyes widened as he looked at the person beside him. You passed the selection? Mu Yen slowly exhales and nods. Night Spirit asked, Then why did you have that expression earlier on? Mu Yen revealed an indescribable expression. In the end she didn't say anything. She patted her shoulder and jumped onto the magic crystal platform. Fuck, how is this possible? When the horse-faced man saw this, he immediately exploded. I didn't get selected, but this newbie passed the selection. Why? Damn it, I knew it a long time ago. There was indeed a conspiracy. Night Spirit glanced at him and could not help but roll his eyes. As an evil woman, her sense of beauty was different from these men. In her eyes, Yap Liangshan, who was disguised as a man, might not be handsome, but his face was absolutely flawless. How could it not look better than this donkey face? Hehe, so what if you used dirty tricks to get the right to participate? The horse-faced man at the side was still gritting his teeth. Look at how weak he is. He can be taken down with a single finger. Even if he goes on stage, he'll only be embarrassing himself. Night Spirit curled his lips. Could he be taken down with a single finger? That would depend on who would be the one to be taken down. Chapter 40-24. Bang. The giant hammer struck the air, creating a loud sound that shook the air and people's eardrums. The short demon shouted at the top of his lungs, The first match begins now. On the spectator stand, the eyes of several evil women were circling around Mu Yen. Big Sister Yuing, we've already arranged for the weakest rank 3MO weapon for little handsome Demon Yi. He won't be completely defeated, right? Yuing, who was sitting in the middle, frowned and said, Although this Yi Liangshan has just transformed into a human form not too long ago, and the demonic energy ripples on his body are not obvious, but his demonic energy is pure and clean. He might be able to put up a fight against a third-grade demonic weapon. Hehe, if she's about to lose, I'll secretly use a demonic aura blade to help her. Before this person could finish his words, a shocking change occurred on the magic crystal platform. The youth they were staring at suddenly took a step forward. Then the originally clear figure became blurry. His whole body was like a phantom shuttling between the other 9 people. His movements were clearly as if he was taking a leisurely stroll in a courtyard, but his speed was so fast that the demon master's eyes almost couldn't catch him. The evil woman who just said that she would help him didn't even have the chance to finish her words and shut her mouth. He could only watch helplessly as the other figures on the magic crystal platform, apart from the youth, fell one after another. In the end, the youth's slender figure slowly stood in front of the short demon Maya. A pair of pitch-black peach blossom eyes casually landed on Maya. Does this count as a win? Or do you want me to kick them off the platform? Maya could not help but gulp. The giant hammer in his hand trembled slightly. After a long while, he finally found his voice and said with a sharp voice, "The winner of the first group competition is Enchantress." The square of Blood Flame City fell into a strange silence. Even Yu Ying and the others on the spectator stand fell into a trance and a state of disbelief. Until the youth who was declared the victor slowly walked down the magic crystal platform. The 3 of them suddenly came back to their senses. Little demon is actually this strong? Did you see that? What kind of speed is that? Even with my eyesight I couldn't catch it. Do you think we've picked up a treasure? The 3 of them looked at each other and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. He had looks, strength, pure magic and was so young. He was clearly a strong contender for the position of the Emperor's son-in-law. The moment Mu Yen stepped down from the fiend crystal platform, Night Spirit pounced over and hugged her. "Haha Yapliangchen, I knew you were powerful." But after hugging for a while, he felt a sharp gaze piercing his back. The moment Night Spirit turned around, she immediately noticed 3 seductive demonesses staring at her from the platform. His eyes were filled with judgment and ruthlessness, as if he wanted to eliminate the root of the problem. But when he looks at Mayan, his gaze is brimming with excitement, as if he's a rare commodity. Night Spirit shuddered. At this moment, they finally realized that Yap Liangchen was a man, and he was one of the most popular candidates to be the princess's son-in-law. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. Oh my god. What if these demon masters found out that Yi Liangchen was a woman? Night Spirit did not dare to imagine the consequences of this. His body trembled uncontrollably. "Come on, let's go back." A hand gently patted her shoulder. Chapter 40-25. The hand was slender and white, looking extremely fragile. However, when it pressed on his shoulder, there seemed to be an invisible force. It caused the fear in Night Spirit's heart to slowly dissipate. The 2 of them walked out of the square side by side. The crowd automatically parted to form a path. All eyes were fixed on Mu Yen as if they were looking at a monster. "Wait!" An angry shout came from behind. Immediately after, a burly figure and a familiar donkey face appeared in front of Mu Yen. "I don't believe that a weakling like you can have any strength. You must have used some tricks on the magic crystal platform, right?" Seeing that Mu Yen did not speak, the donkey-faced man became even more furious. "Hee, you can deceive others but not me. A trash like you is only qualified to be the evil woman's pet. You want to marry the princess? Dream on." Before the donkey-faced man could finish his words, he was suddenly lifted up high. A ball of pure black demonic energy wrapped around his neck and tightened bit by bit. His face, which was already dark red, suddenly turned green and purple, and even his tongue stuck out. The youth below him did not even move his hand. He only moved his long eyelashes and looked at him indifferently. "Do I need to prove my strength to you?" The donkey-faced man shook his head frantically with his tongue sticking out. Physiological tears rolled down from his eyes. Mu Yen curled her lips. "No, I think it's still necessary." With a slight movement of his slender fingers, a sparkling and translucent long sword appeared in his palm. The long sword lightly stabbed towards the donkey-faced man. At the same time she said indifferently, "After all, you've asked for it so many times. I have to satisfy you, don't I?" Boom. The long sword stabbed lightly, but it instantly transformed into a huge wave of air. The crowd retreated in panic. When the wave of air dissipated, everyone saw a white body falling from the sky and smashing into the center of the square. The donkey-faced man's clothes had long been torn to shreds by the sword energy. He did not even have a piece of cloth to cover his body. There were 2 bloody words tattooed in the center of his chest: "Beautiful man." No one knew who was the first to laugh, but then everyone else couldn't help but laugh. The people who were filled with righteous indignation and wanted to cause trouble for Mu Yen just now retreated dejectedly. They rejoiced in their hearts that they did not make a move, otherwise, they would be the ones who lost all their face. Outside the demon core testing house, The little old man stroked his beard, shaking his head and chuckling. How could he possibly be an ordinary low-grade devilish being with such a powerful devilish core? Blood Flame City is going to have a big shot. Mu Yen suddenly opens her eyes, waking up from her nightmare. Cold sweat soaked her forehead and her clothes. Startled by her movements, Night Spirit opened her eyes with a frown. It's so noisy in the middle of the night. Can't you let me sleep? When he realized that it was Mu Yen who had woken him up, Night Spirit retracted his impatient expression and asked carefully, Yi Liangchen, what's wrong? Are you worried about the last match tomorrow morning? The competition in Blood Flame City had already been going on for half a month, and Night Spirit's worship and reverence for the girl in front of him had reached the point of prostrating before her. If there were any major changes in Blood Flame City in the past half a month, then Yi Liangchen would definitely be the first to bear the brunt. Chapter 40-26. There was no need to talk about the evil women. Whenever there was a competition related to Yi Liangchen, the evil women in the city would swarm over and surround the entire square. As soon as Yi Liangchen appeared, their screams and shouts could even overturn the barrier of Blood Flame City. Even those male devils who had looked down on thin and weak pretty boys were attracted to them. At this moment, all of them treated Yi Liangchen as their idol. Previously, it was also said that the fiend race adhered to the principle of the strong being respected. As long as one was strong enough, no matter if they were beautiful, ugly, kind, or cruel, they would be respected and respected by the evil men. During this period of time, Yi Liangchen, this young man, had displayed the word strong to the fullest. In each competition, he never took more than 10 breaths to defeat his opponent. The way he defeated his opponent was so fast that not many people could see it clearly. In the end, people weren't worried that he couldn't win. They only hoped that he could fight a little longer so that they could admire him a little longer. Now, everyone in the city, regardless of gender, felt proud to be able to watch Yi Liangchen's competition up close. If someone was lucky enough to stand next to him before the competition, then he or she would be envied by all the evil men. Around the city, many shops had Yi Liangchen's clothes, Yi Liangchen's hairband, Yi Liangchen's shoes. Many inns even waved handfuls of mabe to invite Yi Liangchen to stay for free, but they were all rejected. Even though his fame was at its peak, he still chose to stay in Night Spirit's rundown house. Night Spirit felt that he couldn't see through this girl in front of him. Ordinary people would become famous overnight, and in the face of such false fame and benefits, they would already be floating with excitement. However, the person in front of him seemed to have long been accustomed to this kind of thing. She was calm, neither humble nor arrogant. It was as if everything that was happening in front of her was the most ordinary thing that wasn't worthy of her expression. Then what would make her change her expression? Was it the things that she had experienced before? Everyone had no doubt that Yi Liangchen was a heaven-raised devil. This was because no fallen evils could possess such pure spiritual qi without any impurities. However, only Night Spirit knew that this girl was definitely not a heaven-raised fiend that was transformed from the demon Cloud Ridge. She had seen with her own eyes that her body was covered in blood, and that she looked like a pure human without any demonic aura. Also, the energy she used to kill the corpse puppet was clearly not magic power. Just as Night Spirit was deep in thought, Mu Yen stood up slowly and opened the windows. The air in Blood Flame City was very smelly. As soon as the window was opened, the smell of blood mixed with the stench of decay assaulted their nostrils. However, Mu Yen did not seem to notice it at all. She only looked at the sky that was covered by the demonic energy and the red mist. Were you a spirit cultivator before? Finally, Night Spirit could not help but ask the question in his heart. The person in front did not speak. Just as Night Spirit thought that she was not going to reply, he heard a low yet melodious voice. My father is a fiend cultivator, or rather, a fiend nurtured by heaven. Night Spirit's eyes widened in disbelief. What did you say? You were born from a demon raised by heaven? How was this possible? Do you know how rare it is for a heaven-raised devil to have offspring? No, wait a minute. Now that you mention it, it makes sense. Chapter 40-27. Night Spirit's eyes lit up as an idea struck him. No wonder you look like a human but not a fallen evil. You even have such pure demonic qi. So, you're the descendant of a heaven-raised fiend? Who's your father then? Does he live in a 4-star or 5-element city? While it was extremely rare for a heaven-raised fiend to give birth to a descendant, it was not impossible. If that was the case, Mu Yan's strength and uniqueness could be explained. The person before him was clearly a fiendish cultivator and a spirit cultivator at the same time. Mu Yin shook her head. I don't know. I've never met my biological father. He abandoned you? Night Spirit had a look of disbelief. Is there something wrong with your father's head? How rare is it for a heaven-raised fiend to give birth to a descendant? That's a gift from the fiend celestial and he abandoned you? Mu Yin curled her lips and did not reply. Trash. He's worse than a human. You should find a scumbag father like him and kill him on behalf of the fiend celestial before snatching away all his treasures and wealth. Mu Yin recalled Ning Yanxin's death. Lowering her gaze slightly, she said, I'll consider it. Suddenly, Night Spirit thought of something and said with a look of realization. So, you disguised yourself as a man and participated in the princess selection because you wanted to look for your father, right? Mu Yin replied indifferently, I'm not interested in looking for him. However, if I have the chance to meet him, I'll have to ask him in person as well. I understand. You must have accumulated a stomach full of complaints to throw at him for abandoning you like that. That's only human nature. Night Spirit hugged her shoulders and sighed with an understanding expression. If only you were really a man. As long as you marry the princess, no matter who your scumbag father is, you'll be able to crush him and make him regret abandoning you in the past. With the princess and the fiend celestial backing you, you'll be the strongest in the hidden abyss, hee. Mu Yin. She decided not to tell Night Spirit that she was going to settle scores with the princess on behalf of little Uncle Master. She did not want to scare this female fiend soldier to death. The orange light of dawn shone through the thick fog and barrier above the hidden abyss, covering the entire city in a layer of golden red light. The sky had not brightened yet and countless devils had already swarmed over, crowding the square until not even a drop of water could trickle through. The short demon jumped onto the magic crystal platform and cleared his throat, which had become hoarse from shouting for the past 2 days. The hammer slammed down heavily. All of you quiet down. I hereby announce that the last round of the demon race's princess's marriage selection, Blood Flame City, will now begin. Let's welcome the 10 contestants. Rank 7 MO Weapon, Sky Dragon. Grade 7 MO Weapon, Wild Cloud. Rank 8 MO Weapon, Peaceful Peace. Rank 8 MO Weapon, Black Wind. The last one, the short demon abruptly raised his voice, completely disregarding the fact that his voice had cracked. We can't tell his level, but he's the undefeatable hero of Blood Flame City. Everyone tell me his name. As soon as he finished speaking, a tsunami of screams rang out from below. Yap Liang Chen. Yi Liang Chen. Yi Liang Chen. Night Spirit blended into the crowd, stretching his neck and shouting. When he saw the plain-clothed youth fly onto the magic crystal platform, Night Spirit's face flushed red from shouting. His ears were filled with crazy shouts. At this moment, Night Spirit deeply realized. Yi Liang Chen, the girl he had picked up from the Demon Cloud Ridge, was destined to become a legend of Blood Flame City. Chapter 40-28. On the magic crystal platform, Mu Yin slowly pulls out the 7 absolute swords. This was the last battle in the 1-star main city. Soon she will go to the main city. At that time she will be one step closer to Di Mingju and the Demon Princess. However, before she can move, a black cloak suddenly flashes in front of her. Immediately after, screams and the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground come from the magic crystal platform. The screaming in the square gradually weakens. Everyone looks at the magic crystal platform in shock. They see that the male demons who were standing separately just now have fallen to the ground one by one. Blood gurgles out from his chest, dyeing the magic crystal platform red. At this time only Yi Liang Chen and the rank 8 demon soldier Hei Feng are still standing on the platform. No. On the platform, the short Maya exclaims, Hei Feng's rank actually rose to the 9th rank in such a short time. If I remember correctly, this is the first rank 9 demon soldier in our Blood and Flame City to successfully advance. Maya can't help but look at Yuang and the other 2 behind him. Clearing his throat, he says, in this way, is there any suspense about the final outcome of this competition? On the magic crystal platform, Hei Feng slowly licks his bloody nails with his long tongue. A pair of triangular eyes stare straight at Mu Yin, full of brutality and greed. Yi Liang Chen, you didn't expect this, right? I had already advanced to rank 9 demon weapon 10 days ago. In the previous competition I have been hiding my strength, just to give you a fatal blow at this moment. Hei Feng licks the blood off his nails, then sneers and approaches Mu Yin step by step. Yi Liang Chen, do you understand now? The fame that you have received these days, The applause that you have heard, it is all given to you by me. Now it is your turn to return it to me. Ah. While saying that, Heifeng wraps his nails with demon chi and fiercely grabs out. However, before his nails can touch Mu Yen, his figure stiffens in place. The arrogance on his face gradually turns into disbelief. The youngster in front of him stands there with his hands behind his back, calm and leisurely. But he doesn't know when, but a transparent sword has been inserted into his chest. Without any deviation, it slashes across the demon nucleus in his body. The slightest deviation to the left would cause the demon core to shatter and he would be dead. The young man's thick and long eyelashes fluttered, and his peach blossom eyes casually fell on his face. What did you just say? Are you going to give me a fatal blow? Black Wind's eyes protruded slightly and his mouth moved. Finally he fell down with a thud. The long sword in her chest slowly disintegrated and dissipated, before finally condensing in Mayan's hand. The silence in the square lasted for about 10 breaths of time. Then, Yap Liang Chen. Yi Liang Chen. Yap Liang Chen, I love you. Please look at me. Yap Liang Chen wants me to be your mistress, right? I'm willing to be your slave and magical pet. I'm willing to do anything. Invincible Yap Liang Chen. Blood and Flame Emperor Yap Liang Chen. Who dares to challenge Yi Liang Chen? Amidst the earth-shattering screams, the young man was dressed in a coarse white robe. He held a sword behind his back and calmly walked down the magic crystal platform. Patting Night Spirit's shoulder that was still drooling, he said, "Let's go." Night Spirit's back stiffened. At this moment she felt countless burning gazes that wanted to kill fall on her. If gazes could kill, she would have been torn apart by these demonesses. Chapter 40-29. Night Spirit smiled bitterly. You got first place. All the demons in Blood Flame City were defeated by you alone. Why aren't you excited at all? Not to mention that there was a reward of 100,000 mabe. If it was her, she would have been so proud that she could fly to the sky. Mu Yen brushed away the wrinkles on her body and murmured in a voice that only Night Spirit could hear. In Baisie's words, I, a max-level main account, slaughtered a novice village. What's there to be proud of? Night Spirit was the only one who heard it. What did that mean? Were all humans so complicated? Does he like to make people guess what he's talking about? Mu Yen brought Night Spirit back to the tent. Yu Ying and the other two's eyes lit up when they saw her. They couldn't wait to rush over and molest her. In the end, Mu Yen pressed the 7 absolute sword on the table, and the 3 demonesses restrained themselves a little. Strange, ordinary swords can't hurt the demon lord. Little handsome demon, what sword is that? It seems a little dangerous. Mu Yen ignored their questions and said indifferently, 100,000 mabe. Also, when can I go to a 2-star main city? Here, this is 100,000 mabe. Yu Ying threw out a storage bag and winked at her at the same time. You're so annoying. It's just 100,000 mabe. Do you think Big Sister will blame you? As for when you can go to a 2-star main city, it's up to you. Even if you say you want to leave now, Big Sisters can take you away immediately. Mu Yen nodded and took out 50,000 mabe from the storage bag and put it in her storage bracelet. She left the rest to Night Spirit. I'm leaving. Thank you for your care during this period. Night Spirit let out an ah and was still in a daze. You're leaving? You're leaving so soon? Don't you want to stay in Blood Flame City for 2 more days? No need. Mu Yen looked at the void spirit ring in her hand. I still have a lot of things to do and a lot of people I want to see. She didn't want to waste a single moment. Night Spirit's heart was filled with disappointment and reluctance. He blurted out, Can I go with you? I can accompany you to find father and do things for you that are inconvenient. Mu Yen was startled. Go with me? Yes. I've never left Blood Flame City in my life, and I've always wanted to see it. Night Spirit was so nervous that he was stuttering. Will I be a burden to you if I go with you? That won't happen. She turned to look at Yu Ying. Can I bring her along? Yu Ying looked at Night Spirit in disdain. Twisting her slender waist, she winked at it. Little handsome devil, this low-level demonic weapon is old and ugly. What's so good about it? If you want to find someone to warm your bed, you might as well find me. Night Spirit, you're the one who's old and ugly. Your whole family is old and ugly. All right, of course it's not a problem to bring someone along. Since it's your request, I'll definitely agree to it, Yu Ying said as she took a step back. He raised his hand and a blood-colored ring appeared in his palm. As the ring gently danced in the air, The surrounding air began to distort and fluctuate. A blood-colored door of light slowly appeared in front of everyone. 2-star main city, Crimson Star. Little handsome devil, let's go. Don't let me down in the upcoming betrothal selection. Chapter 40:30. Due to unknown reasons, Sogu is suddenly unable to find this site today. Nether Region, Imperial City. Have you heard? Recently, the demon race is holding a marriage selection to choose a husband for the princess who is nowhere to be found. What? It can't be? Didn't they say that the demon race in our Nether region already had an engagement? Shouldn't the husband of the demon race's princess be our first highness? Sure. You want to die. Don't you know that person is taboo and no one can mention him? In short, the engagement between the demon race and our Nether region has long been broken. Even if their princess is looking for a husband, it has nothing to do with us. You are not allowed to say another word, do you hear me? The voice of the maid gradually faded away. They did not notice that in the shadow of the beam, there was a figure in white lazily lying down. Bright red silk covered his face, covering most of his face. Just by looking at his exposed lips, teeth, and figure, one could tell that this was a man with an extremely good appearance. He yawned and slowly floated down from the beam. Casually grabbing the air, a flower in the garden fell into his hand. I thought that something interesting would happen in this Nether region. I didn't think that after so long, it would still be so boring. Li Weiran smelled the flower as he thought absent-mindedly, it sounds like the demon race is more interesting. Why don't I go to the demon race for a walk? The demon race's princess. His slender fingers gently twisted, and the beautiful flower turned into powder in his palm. Just as he was about to leave, a call came from afar. Priest Untainted, Priest Untainted. May I ask if you are here? Priest Untainted, so you are here. Quick, come with me, the Domain Lord is looking for you. Li Weiran raised his eyebrows and said in a bored tone, Oh, what is it now? The person said joyfully, The Domain Lord has finally found someone who can exchange life for Her Highness. Everything is ready and waiting for Lord Priest to take charge. Someone who can exchange life? Li Weiran's lips slowly curled up. Who in this world could exchange life for Yin Yuani? That old man Yin Wuji wouldn't be stupid, right? That seemed interesting. Then he'd better not go to the devil race first and take a look at the excitement of the Nether realm first. When Fu Yushu heard that Yin Wuji had found the person who could exchange Yin Yuani's life, she quickly put on her clothes and hurried over. Ever since the day they surrounded and killed Luo Yunxiao, she seemed to have completely lost her spirit. Of her 2 sons, one had become a world-destroying demon from a young age and was destined to be destroyed. The other one was half dead and looked like he had become a cripple. How could Fu Yushu not feel sad and despair? She even suspected that this was her retribution for sacrificing her own son in exchange for benefits. For the past few days, Fu Yushu had been bedridden. Only when he heard the news did he perk up. However, he saw the unconscious young man lying on the bed in the room. Fu Yushu's face paled as she screamed uncontrollably, How could it be him? How did he come back? Limitless, limitless. Is he here to take my life? He must be here to take your life, right? Shut up. Yin Wuji barked, Open your eyes wide and take a good look. This is an ordinary spirit cultivator, not Luo Yunxiao's unfilial son. How could he not be? Fu Yushu screamed hysterically, Look at that face, look at that face. Who else in the world could have the same face? Yishao, he's back to take our lives. Wuji, quickly kill him and throw him out, throw him out. Chapter 40:31. Slap. A fierce slap landed on Fu Yushu's face, flinging her out. Li Weiran bumped into Fu Yushu as soon as he entered. He raised his eyebrows with interest and smiled, Why is it so lively? It's no wonder. Finding someone who can exchange for Her Highness's life, the Domain Lord and Empress should be happy. Yin Wuji took a deep breath. Not looking at Fu Yushu, he forced a smile at Li Weiran. Priest Weiran, you're here? You said before that as long as we find a suitable person, they can change Year's fate. Please come over and see if this person is suitable? Li Weiran smiled and nodded, slowly walking forward. The red silk covered his eyes, but everything in front of him could be seen clearly. The face of the man on the bed reflected in his mind, and his eyes behind the red silk widened slightly. Luo Yunxiao? Mine's martial uncle? Wasn't he dead? Why would he appear here? Something was wrong. The aura on his body was completely different. The person lying on the bed had a mixed aura, and his cultivation was only at the hollow immortal realm. There were no energy fluctuations related to the dark Yin holy flame on his body. Could it really not be Luo Yunxiao? But was there such a coincidence in this world? Li Weiran's lips couldn't help but slowly curve up. Interesting, really interesting. Fortunately, he didn't leave the nether region to go to the demon race, otherwise he would have missed this good show. Priest Weiran? Li Weiran returned to his senses and met Yin Wuji's scrutinizing gaze. He smiled slightly. My apologies, I just felt that he looked familiar to someone I had seen before. I forgot myself for a moment and made a fool of myself in front of the domain lord. This person. Pausing, he continued slowly. He can indeed exchange for Her Highness's life. Yin Wuji let out a long sigh, looking at the unconscious man on the bed. His eyes flashed with excitement and fear. This person was fished out of the river of forgetfulness. When he first saw his appearance, Yin Wuji also turned pale with fright. There were indeed many people who looked the same in this world. But Luo Yunxiao's face seemed to be born from the heavens and earth. How could there be a second one in this world? Yin Wuji's first reaction was to kill him, to immediately grind his bones to dust. Let this nightmare that had existed for hundreds of years disappear forever. But soon he discovered something different. This person did not have the dark Yin sacred flame in his body, nor did he have the world extermination half-soul. His cultivation level was only at the pseudo-immortal realm. The spirit root in his body had also become extremely heterogeneous. Isn't this Luo Yunxiao? In other words, even that unfilial son of Luo Yunxiao was no longer a threat to him. When he realized this, Yin Wuji almost wanted to howl to the heavens. He suddenly remembered that not every host of the Red Dust Ambush would die. There were also some hosts that managed to survive the process of the world-destroying half-soul being extracted. Their bodies and souls were not completely torn apart and they ultimately survived. However, this kind of life was even more painful than death. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were struggling at death's door. Before these hosts were possessed by the world-destroying half-soul, they were usually heaven's pridelings with cultivation talent that far surpassed that of ordinary people. But after experiencing the devastation of the mortal tribulation, even if he survived, he would become a cripple. After he had escaped from the encirclement of Luo Yunxiao that day, Lu Xingyuan had appeared. He had taken the formless cauldron of karma. Chapter 40-32. Then Yin Wuji and Fu Yushu experienced a long and nervous wait. Was that evil creature killed or not? Was the immortal ambush over? Could his nightmare be completely ended? Such torment and conjectures vanished into thin air when he saw the cripple in front of him. Sure enough, Lu Xingyuan had successfully taken away the world-destroying half-soul. Yes, that was a venerable immortal with a higher cultivation than him. How could he not succeed? Yin Wuji looked excitedly at the unconscious Luo Yunxiao. Another thought came to his mind. His favorite son Yin Yuanyi was now disabled by Di Mingju. He found the best doctors in the Xiaoxin continent and used all kinds of methods, but they couldn't make him recover. Later, Li Weiran, who claimed to be Mu Liuyun's successor as priest, appeared. He told him there was a way to save Yin Yuanyi. That was to find someone who had a deep connection with Yin Yuanyi and had the same aura. Then transfer Yin Yuanyi's pain and disability to that person. Of course, that person would die in pain. But Yin Yuanyi could be reborn and become the same as before. If there was anyone in this world who had the deepest connection with Yin Yuanyi, apart from the husband and wife, it must be Luo Yunxiao. They were brothers from the same father and mother. Yin Yuanyi had stripped the dark Yin holy flame from Luo Yunxiao many times and transferred it to himself. The aura between the two people must be the same. And the truth was as Yin Wuji had expected. Luo Yunxiao completely met the conditions to exchange his life. He was the stepping stone that heaven had prepared for Yin Yuanyi. After squeezing out every last bit of value from him, this unfilial son who had troubled and feared him for hundreds of years could finally die for real. Father, you said that you found someone who can exchange my life. Is that true? Yin Yuanyi stumbled into the room with the help of a maid. Only a few months had passed, but he looked dozens of years older than when he was in the Ning family. His originally handsome face was now full of wrinkles and gullies. He looked mean and twisted. Seeing the person lying on the bed, his reaction was the same as Fu Yushu's. He stepped back in horror and let out a scream. Luo Yunxiao? How could he still be alive? Father, didn't you say you killed him? Yin Wuji coughed lightly and said coldly, You are the young lord of the nether region. What a scandal it is to make such a fuss. It's all because your mother spoiled you. This isn't Luo Yunxiao but a vessel to exchange your life for. But his face, he clearly, Wuji glanced at everyone in the room including Li Weiran. The pressure of an immortal supremacy emanated from his body, and his tone carried a hint of threat. If I say he's not Luo Yunxiao, then he's not Luo Yunxiao. Haven't you always wanted to get better? Aren't you happy that you can transfer all your injuries to this person? Yuani was stunned, and the panic in his eyes was gradually replaced by excitement. That's right. He's not Luo Yunxiao. He's my vessel. No, it's better if he's Luo Yunxiao. That piece of trash was only qualified to be my stepping stone. Ah. Yuani laughed as he walked up to Luo Yunxiao, who was in a coma. He was so excited that his body trembled. Hurry, exchange my life for his immediately. I can't wait to see him wail in pain. Chapter 40-33. Li Weiran glanced at Wuji and smiled. Region Master, shall we begin now? Wuji looked deeply at him before saying in a low voice, Priest Untainted, you should know very well that if you dare to play any tricks in the territory of our nether realm, you will definitely not be able to live to see tomorrow's sun. Li Weiran bowed gracefully and said with a smile, Of course. I said long ago that I came to the nether region to be loyal to the Region Master. Isn't my life treasure still in the Region Master's hands? What is there to worry about, Region Master? It's good that Priest Unran understands. Then I'll have to trouble you to prepare. Wuji didn't completely trust Li Weiran, this mysterious and strange priest. Even though he had Mu Liuyun's identity token. Even though the ability he displayed was different from immortal power and the same as Mu Liuyun. But for some reason Wuji felt that this man who looked like a youth at the same time was strange and frightening. He couldn't help but want to stay far away. But now he really had no other choice. He was the only one who could help Yuani change his fate. The fate exchange formation was prepared quickly. The unconscious Luo Yunxiao and the palpitating Yuani walked into the center of the formation. Fu Yushu finally recovered and sat with Wuji at the two ends of the formation. Her body still trembled uncontrollably. She didn't dare look in Luo Yunxiao's direction. But she maintained her calm on the surface. She had to be calm. Because the activation and operation of the Fate Exchange formation required the protection of at least two high-level immortals. And it involved Luo Yunxiao and Yuani. Apart from her and Wuji, no one else could believe it. Li Weiran's white robe changed to a fiery red. On the contrary, the red silk covering his face became snow satin. His originally youthful appearance seemed to be tainted with seductiveness and charm. Especially when his red lips curled up and his red robe fluttered. He was like an Azura stepping into the mortal world. He couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart and wanted to see the bloody scene with his own eyes. Li Weiran's outfit was well prepared. He had gotten a staff studded with jewels from who knew where. With a light wave, the tip of the rod emitted a dark red glow. Not far from them, the grand spell formation immediately burst into flames, burning along every vein and gradually surrounding Wuji, Yuani, Fu Yushu, and Luo Yunxiao. After that, I have nothing to do with it, right? Li Weiran yawned and leaned lazily on the windowsill. The sun was shining brightly outside the house, and the golden light shone on the flowers that were vying for beauty. It was beautiful and enchanting. However, the interior of the palace was dark. The imperial family of the nether realm was completely engulfed in the raging flames of the mortal world. A family? Ha! Li Weiran let out a mocking laugh. With a wave of his hand, the beautiful flowers outside the window suddenly withered, as if someone had sucked all the moisture out of them. Almost at the same time, a scream came from the array. Luo Yunxiao, you, how did you wake up? What are you doing? Father, mother, save me. Help. Evil creature. Stop right now. Boom. A loud sound shook the entire palace as if it was about to collapse. Li Weiran leaned weakly on the windowsill. This time he almost flipped out of the window. He barely managed to grab the window frame and looked up excitedly. Chapter 40-34. Due to unknown reasons, Sogu is unable to find this site today. The scene in the hall caught Li Weiran's attention. His eyes widened and his breathing stagnated. The fire he sent out had already dissipated. The swirling dust filled the palace, blurring one's vision. But with Li Weiran's cultivation and eyesight, how could he not see clearly? That man in spotless white robes, fiery red eyes, and flowing silver hair. He had a face that would make any man in the world jealous. As clear as the mountains and rivers, as ethereal as the moon and stars. But at this moment, the mountains and rivers were frozen. The stars and moon were tainted by blood and coldness. He was like an Azura without blood or flesh. He was emotionless, without desire or love, only cold indifference and careless cruelty. His slender white fingers were like a work of art carved from fine jade. With a gentle wave, Enyuani flew into the air and was nailed to a pillar in the hall. Ah! A shrill scream came out of Enyuani's mouth, accompanied by splatters of blood. The dust and pebbles that had fallen from the roof all stabbed into Enyuani's body and face. At this moment, it was impossible to tell whether his face was old or young, because at a glance, it was filled with densely packed bloody holes. It was nauseating. Help! Help! Imperial Father, Imperial Mother, please save me. It hurts, it hurts. Wuji clutched his burning chest and looked at Luo Yunxiao in horror. How did you survive? How did you become so strong? Fu Yushu looked at the wailing Enyuani with tears in her eyes. Little Xiao, don't do this. Yuani is your brother, your biological brother. You can't do this to him. Mother, I beg you, please let him go and let us go too. Luo Yunxiao found a chair and sat down. She poured herself a cup of tea but didn't drink it. Instead, she held it in her hand and looked at it slowly. Just when Fu Yushu thought he didn't want to talk to her, she heard the man's cold and magnetic voice. Sure. Fu Yushu was delighted and her eyes were filled with excitement. Little Xiao, I know you're the kindest and most obedient. Before she finished her words, Luo Yunxiao continued, only one of you can live. If you want us to let Enyuani go, you can kill yourselves. Fu Yushu's eyes widened. Wuji cursed loudly, you unfilial son, I should have strangled you to death when you were born. Luo Yunxiao frowned slightly and revealed a puzzled expression. Don't you love this son very much? He glanced at Enyuani. You can sacrifice anyone else's life for him. Why can't you sacrifice yours? I'll kill you. Wuji let out an angry roar. His natal sword was unsheathed, and the netherworld fire leaped up as it screeched and slashed at Luo Yunxiao. However, in the next moment the sword was intercepted in midair. The tenacious netherworld flame seemed to have met its nemesis as it was completely swallowed. Wuji let out a blood-curdling scream and hurriedly withdrew his hand, wanting to retreat. However, in the next moment his throat was grabbed by an ice-cold hand, and he fell to the ground. Bang! There was a loud noise, followed by a sharp pain at the back of his head, making Wuji dizzy. His face twisted violently because of the pain. It wasn't until the buzzing sound dissipated that he heard the man's gentle and pleasant but indifferent voice. The ancient books of cultivation in the Netherworld region are all related to flames. However, the Netherworld Holy Flame can restrain all flames in the world. Chapter 40-35. Wuji, you can take a few more moves from Di Mingju, but in front of me you're worse than a dog. Don't you know this? Wuji's eyes widened, the veins on his forehead bulging. He desperately tried to circulate the divine power in his body. But it was just as Luo Yunxiao said. The Netherine sacred flame was the most supreme flame in the world. His netherworld flame and all the books related to fire that he cultivated, in front of the Darkine holy flame, did not have the slightest ability to fight back. He couldn't even use it. He glared at Luo Yunxiao, his eyes full of shock and unwillingness. How did you survive? Lu Xingyuan would never allow you to live. You're not Luo Yunxiao, who are you? His long eyelashes slowly drooped. They covered the cold and dark light in his crimson eyes. His hand brushed lightly. Cracking sounds came from Wuji's hands and feet. That was the sound of the bones in his limbs breaking inch by inch. Wuji let out a mournful scream and almost fainted. He was the heir of the Netherworld region from birth. When he came of age, his cultivation had already reached the peak of golden immortal. It could be said that he had never suffered like mortals did in his life. He didn't even know how cruel and terrifying the torture he had inflicted on Luo Yunxiao was. Luo Yunxiao listened to his cries, but there was still no change on her handsome face. She only answered him indifferently, Lu Xingyuan did not allow me to live in this world, but I killed him. No, impossible. How is this possible? Wuji's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he shook his head frantically. Lu Xingyuan was a venerable immortal, a brilliant disciple of Bodhidharma. He also had the formless cauldron. How could you kill him? Suddenly Wuji's pupils shrank and his screams came to an abrupt end. He looked in horror at Luo Yunxiao's dantian. Extreme fear almost broke his voice. The world-destroying half-soul was not taken out. You fused with it. Luo Yunxiao's lips curved slightly. Father, you guessed right. This was the first time he smiled since his rebirth. But Wuji only felt despair, his body trembling uncontrollably. How was that a human smile? It was clearly a devil, an Azura that had crawled out from the abyss of hell. After that, he stood up, raised his hand, and nailed Wuji to the pillar next to Yuani. His deep and cold blood-red eyes looked at Fuyushu. Fuyushu let out a short scream and fell to the ground. Then she quickly knelt on the ground and crawled toward Luo Yunxiao while crying and kowtowing. Little Xiao, it's Dad and Mom's fault, but we're your parents after all. After all, we've raised you for so many years. Please spare us, please spare us. Luo Yunxiao slowly squatted down. Her voice was cold and magnetic. What should I do? Now that I hear you crying and begging, I think of your biased and cruel past, but I don't feel anything in my heart. The crimson-red pupils met Fuyushu's frightened, tearful eyes, and the bottom of his eyes was calm. I didn't come to the nether realm for revenge, I didn't want to take back anything. Fuyushu trembled all over and cried, Little Xiao, since you didn't come for revenge, then please let us go. Let us go, okay? Mom will kowtow to you, kowtow to you. Chapter 40-36. She banged her forehead on the ice-cold bluestone floor. Without the protection of immortal power, a large part of her forehead was soon broken and blood flowed out. Luo Yunxiao looked down at her with an indifferent expression, as if he was looking at an ant struggling for its life. Fuyushu looked up at that pair of bloody eyes and felt her heart sink bit by bit. She suddenly gritted her teeth and secretly pinched something in her right palm. She did not show it on her face. As she cried, she knelt in front of Luo Yunxiao and hugged his leg, crying loudly, Xiao, say something. You really can't forgive Mother? Ah. The dagger dipped in poison had just been stabbed out. Her wrist was clamped by 5 cold fingers. Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, a piercing pain came from her arm. So painful, let me go, ah. Luo Yunxiao slowly let go of her hand and whispered, I really don't want revenge, but I want to say goodbye to my past self. That weak, useless, lowly Luo Yunxiao, if only she had never existed. If not for that Luo Yunxiao, he would not have lost the Xiaoyao sect. If not for that Luo Yunxiao, he would not have lost everything. So, everything related to that Luo Yunxiao, I will erase it bit by bit. He raised his head and looked at the 3 bloody people nailed to the pillars. His voice was cold and indifferent. If one day is not enough, then one day. If 1 month is not enough, then 1 month. Before that Luo Yunxiao completely disappears, I will let you live. But this life would be more painful than death. Bang. The door of the palace was smashed open. Region Master, what just happened? Yu Qin and the others had just rushed through the door and saw the scene in the palace. They were all shocked. Region Master. Region Empress. Your Highness. Yu Qin looked at the silver-haired, red-eyed Luo Yunxiao and the dying Wuji. He could not believe his eyes. Luo Yunxiao sat back down on the chair and slowly took a sip of the cold tea. Audacious madman, you dare to hurt the Region Master. Go. Yu Qin had not recovered from the shock. The Nether Realm guards behind him roared and rushed forward. A dark red flame sprang up from the ground and engulfed the guards who were rushing over. These people did not even have the chance to make a sound before they were directly burned to ashes. The flames even spread to the 3 people on the pillars. Immediately, miserable screams rang out. Half of Yuani's feet were burned off. Even Wuji, who was a celestial prime, could not help but cry and beg for mercy. The chaotic hall fell into a strange silence. Everyone's eyes were filled with terror as they looked at the silver-haired, crimson-eyed man. Their legs were trembling, and they wished for nothing more than to flee immediately. Suddenly there was a thud behind Yu Qin. Sang Rao, who was also an elder of the Nether region, had already knelt on the ground and shouted, Your subordinate greets the new Region Master. Region Lord, you have already cultivated the rank 4 Netherine sacred flame. You are more suitable to lead the Nether region than Wuji. Under your glorious leadership, my Nether realm will definitely be able to recreate the legend of the Nether Saint Emperor. Long live the new ruler. With Sang Rao taking the lead, the remaining elders also knelt down one by one. They shouted, Long live the new ruler. You dare. Wuji, who was nailed to the pillar, was both shocked and angry. He could not help but struggle and shout at the top of his lungs. Chapter 40-37. However, the subordinates who were once loyal to him and flattered him only glanced at him cautiously. They retracted their gazes and continued to respectfully worship their new territory lord. This was the cultivation world. The weak were prey to the strong, and the victor was king. Luo Yunxiao was once weak, so even as a prince he was repeatedly humiliated and tortured by his own father. No one stood up for him. Now that the situation had reversed, it was Yin Wuji's turn to taste everything that Luo Yunxiao had experienced. Yu Chen's heart was incomparably complicated. From a long time ago he had favored Luo Yunxiao over Yin Yuanyi. He had sighed and regretted countless times in his heart. If the First Highness had not been chosen to be the host of the mortal plunder, how good would it have been? If the successor of the Nether region was Luo Yunxiao, then their future development would definitely not be any worse than the Polar region. But at this moment, Luo Yunxiao had returned to the Nether region in the most powerful manner. He had made Yin Wuji his prisoner. Even his dark Yin holy flame had broken through the 4th rank, and was only a step away from the 5th rank of legend. But the person in front of him was no longer the indifferent and kind-hearted First Highness from before. How did he crawl back from hell? How did he become like this? No one knew. Yu Chen closed his eyes and finally knelt down slowly. Greetings, new territory lord. Where would the future of the Nether region go from here? Yu Chen and the others paid their respects, but Luo Yunxiao did not have any reaction. At this moment they did not dare to say anything and carefully retreated after kowtowing a few times. They completely ignored Fu Yushu's cries and Yin Wuji's angry roars. When everyone had left, there was a sudden round of applause in the room. Staying in the Nether region to watch such a good show is really worth it. Luo Yunxiao's gaze finally fell on Li Weiran. Li Weiran walked over and sat beside him. He poured himself a cup of tea in a very familiar manner. As he drank, he said with a smile, "Aren't your methods of torturing people a bit lacking? Why don't you give the 3 of them to me? I guarantee that in less than 2 hours, they will cry for their parents and regret being born into this world." Li Weiran, you. Yin Wuji let out an angry roar. However, before he could finish speaking, he was blocked by a clump of mud. Even Fu Yushu and Yin Wuji were given a lump of mud. As a result, the annoying noises in the hall disappeared. Li Weiran didn't even look at them as he excitedly looked at Luo Yunxiao. "I see that your cultivation is very high now. Why don't we join hands and destroy the polar domain?" Luo Yunxiao's long eyelashes drooped slightly. His entire body seemed to be carved out of ice jade, and he didn't react to anything around him. He did not have the joy of avenging a great hatred. There was no grief, anger, or pain. There was only indifference towards everything in this world. Li Weiran became even more excited as he said, "It's fine if you don't want to work with me on the polar domain. Can you at least tell me what happened during this time? The last time I saw you, you didn't seem to be like this. Mu Yan treasures you so much. Seeing you like this, it's impossible for her not to have any reaction, right?" At this point, Li Weiran was a little unhappy. Not to mention Mu Yan and the people of the Xiao Yao sect. Even that little bastard Jun Machin treated Luo Yunxiao better than he did. He sourly thought, "Isn't it just a face?" You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.